Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the Transatlantic Relations, welcome to the 2021 Female Founders Awards. This is one of the rare occasions in this time of pandemic where one actually can celebrate and party, and that's the reason why you see me in a tuxedo. Actually, I was surprised that it still fits, almost, but it does. And there is something to celebrate tonight. I think you're going to see a great number of very, very smart, successful, and impressive female founders, as well as female leaders. And I will be actually the only male you see on stage. I owe this honor to the fact that I chair the AmCham chapter Berlin-Brandenburg, and we initially came up with the idea of setting up this event. We did so because, for some reason that we might discuss later tonight, the share of female founders is equally low in Germany as it is in the United States. And we wanted to highlight the fact that it is like that we should change that, and also wanted to learn a little bit on how we can change that as an organization, but also as individuals in our roles as managers, as people who might support the necessary upswing in the number of female founders. Before I hand over to tonight's moderator, Chelsea Speaker, who is herself a very successful female founder, on one hand side with her company supporting events, planning events, and kind of hosting and moderating them. And on the other hand, as a co-founder of Media Pioneer, I have the pleasure to welcome some of our guests specifically. For one, there is Frank Sportolari, the president of AmCham Germany, and some of the board members of AmCham Germany who are with us tonight. On the other hand, there is our friends from the American Embassy. I'd like to name Virginia Murray and John McCaslin, but I know there's others there too. Thanks for your support and friendship. Very, very much appreciated. And of course, as you all know, these kind of events, even in times of pandemic and Corona, aren't possible with strong sponsors and supporters from members of the AmCham. And in this case, I'd like to specifically thank our cooperation partner, Microsoft, the award partners, PepsiCo and Texas Instruments, our media partners, News Actuel, the DMW and She Works, and our network partners as well, which you all can see on this slide. And they were all very supportive. We already have to thank them all because it's them who actually made that happen, in addition to the team of AmCham, especially Barbara Biemann-Benke. Having said that, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Chelsea Speaker. Here you are. Nice to see you here again. And I'd like to give the floor to you.
Thank you, Torsten. Good evening and welcome to the second Female Founders Awards. I'm Chelsea Speaker, and much like Torsten, I was really happy about the opportunity to be able to get dressed up, even though you can only see the top half of me. And below that, I may or may not be wearing jogging pants. We'll never know. I feel really honored to be a part of this evening tonight. I had the opportunity to present the first Female Founders Awards back in 2019, and it turned out to be such a special evening for everyone involved. There was such a unique vibe of support and respect, not only for our inspiring award winners, but also for everyone who supported this important award. It's a bit of a shame that we can't all be together this evening in one room, creating that same vibe again. But I think if the corona pandemic has taught us anything, it's that we don't necessarily need to be in the same room to connect. This evening, we'll be hearing from some amazing women, as Torsten already said, not only from our award winners, but also from a number of other inspiring female leaders. Krista Pilot is Senior Vice President, Public Policy, Government Affairs, and Communications at PepsiCo Europe. She's been at PepsiCo since 2001, most recently responsible for the company's external engagement with government, NGOs, and key stakeholders across Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa, and based out of Dubai. Catherine Harrison is a multiple-time founder and currently CEO of Magpie, a technology platform for customers to manage their luxury and collectibles as an asset class. She also founded Deep Trust Alliance, a nonprofit focused on building policy, for combating malicious deepfakes. We'll hear more from her later. Simone Amer is Executive Vice President of AmCham Germany. She looks back on a 25-year career at Lufthansa, where she became the first female CFO at a German blue chip company. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Marianne Janek to the screen. Marianne is CEO of Microsoft Germany. She's been with Microsoft since 2011, most recently serving as Country General Manager for Microsoft Switzerland. She's also held leadership roles with Elster, ESG, Clout, and EADS. Welcome, Marianne.
Thank you very much, Chelsea, and thank you for the opportunity today to be part of this opening for the AmCham Female Founders Award. I think personally, the award is very important because precisely in Germany, we have not been renowned for being really a sort of paradise for startups. This is changing. We learned that Europe and Germany, especially in Berlin and Munich, are getting more attractive for founders. So for me, it's really paramount to be able to support persons who have the courage really and the creativity to start a business. And I should mention now that we are really blessed to have very successful female founders in Germany. And some of them have already been awarded by AmCham in 2019. Still, and it was mentioned today already, according to the Female Founders Monitor, women are severely underrepresented in Germany, I think with only 16% of startups. And in addition, most recently, and I think that's sad and something to look into, that surveys have showed that female founders face particular challenges in the corona crisis with regard to their business operations. So all the businesses have obviously been impacted by COVID-19, but not everyone is equally affected. And at the best of all times, female founders have only received, I think, 1/3 less funding than their male-founded counterparts. And the global pandemic and recession are only very likely going to widen this gap. On the other side, on a very positive note, I think in this sort of remote everything economy, we can all make use of technology very largely. Technology is democratized, it's affordable, and digitalization is moving forward. So I think now more than ever, it's time to support women with tech-based businesses that will help us also overcome the crisis. I think it's always good to remind us that gender equality is one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. And we as Microsoft, we value diversity in our workforce, in our ecosystem, and obviously it's not just about gender. We are on our way. We're working hard to achieve equality at all levels. And certainly we're not there yet, but it's something that's also very important to me to show that even in Germany, especially when it comes to technical talent, we can do a lot more than we do today. And of course, as I said, diversity is more than gender, but gender is an important dimension. And therefore, to me, the AmCham Female Founders Award has really two facets. It's one, we want to make female founders more visible, more connected, building bridges and hopefully also communities. But it's also a big signal to encourage other women to become founders themselves. And without revealing too much, I think we look at all the applications. There's a lot of potential in Germany. And I think we really should and must empower more female entrepreneurs. And even if all the ideas, the passion we've seen, this is something that is worth supporting. But we need more of this female founders' power, especially in fields related to technology, to computer science. And as you know, it's well documented that women-led companies deliver higher returns over time than those founded by men. So a good signal today for our society, for the German economy. And certainly it's important, at least something that's always resonating for me, not only to talk about, but to create, to actively really create these community to make them visible. It's impressive what women founders are doing here in Germany, how they take up social issues and trends and develop innovative business models from them. So today, some of those ideas will be honored in a virtual award ceremony and with many exciting guests, but especially many inspiring women. So good luck to all of you at the Female Founders Award today. And I have now the honor to hand over to you, Krista, as our keynote speaker. Thank you very much. Krista, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Janek, Marianne. It's a pleasure to meet you virtually. And I want to just thank all of the colleagues here on the phone, the AmCham team, the U.S. Embassy staff, the fellow female leaders. Thank you for having me. And I hope I can share a few words with you as we celebrate our female founders. As I was reflecting on this opportunity to speak to you, and we think about the end of the pandemic, hopefully, we really need to come out of this with a sustainable transformation of the economy and with a focus on economic opportunities for women. I believe that women and women's issues are highly underrepresented in the economic discussion today. I mean, we hear about restaurants, we hear about the travel industry, the auto industry, and these are very important, but I haven't really heard about dedicated support for women as economic actors. We need women to start companies, as our winners have done today. We need women to get back to work in order to avoid an economic disaster on top of a health disaster. Longer term, we need this next generation coming up to think about themselves as economic actors, regardless of their gender. And I know for me growing up, I never really thought of myself in those terms. When I had my first child and my husband and I decided that I would go back to work and he would stay at home, very unconventional arrangement that we have, I have to admit, I panicked a little bit inside. I never really thought that I would be under so much pressure. It felt so strange. I mean, I'd always been working, but I wasn't mentally prepared to have a family relying on me as the sole breadwinner. And so I think if I felt that way, I can only imagine how other people must have felt. And I've been lucky enough to work for big multinational companies almost my entire career. And I'm really grateful to these employers. I've had amazing experiences. I've had a lot of opportunities to grow and to achieve. But I wish I could say my experience is typical. I mean, so many women still struggle to fulfill their economic potential. And we're here tonight to honor female founders, and I want to add my applause to their achievements. And I say congratulations. I wish I had your courage. I don't have that risk profile, but you know better than I do. The best way to control your economic destiny is to start your own company. And I want to encourage more women to follow your example. And Dr. Janek outlined, unfortunately, some depressing statistics, so I won't repeat them, about how few women in Germany and the United States start up companies and the struggles that they face to get funding. But women more broadly even face more economic barriers and more barriers to fulfilling their potential. So rather than be depressed about that, I wanted to call tonight, I have this platform, I wanted to call for a Marshall Plan for Women. And I must give full credit to Aspen Institute and the Ideas Festival there for the title. They did a recent panel about a Marshall Plan for moms and looking at childcare and things like that. But I want to say we can and should think more broadly. We should take this opportunity coming out of the pandemic to reconstruct our approach to women's economic activity. At the transatlantic level, as we're all sitting here coming together, could the EU and the US come together to drive economic inclusion for women? Could we ask President Joe Biden and President Ursula von der Leyen to place female empowerment at the core of economic cooperation between the US and the EU? In the US, for example, President Biden has proposed $1 trillion investment on infrastructure to help stimulate the economy. Now, I think bridges and high-speed internet connectivity are super important, but why not invest in women? And rather than just rescuing industries, let's rescue the 50% of the population that's been historically left out of the economic debate. Industries, I can tell you, are using their considerable resources to lobby for government support. And I say tonight, women, we need better lobbyists. We need to demand a plan that will help women to reach their full economic potential. So what could a Marshall Plan for Women look like? You know, things like grants or zero interest loans for business, small business incubators with free office space, real strong mentoring programs with some heft to them, training for teenagers and young women to see themselves as economic actors even before they get into the workforce. And I'm sure our winners tonight could probably provide a lot of ideas. And there are many successful models that can really be scaled up. For one example, I'd like to take you outside of the developed world. And I'll talk you a little bit about PepsiCo, where I am lucky enough to work. We have a number of programs globally that are looking at how can we invest in communities to build economic resilience. And in particular, because we're the second largest food and beverage company in the world, we care a lot about agriculture. And it's very important to our business, and it's important to our mark on society. And when you think about a farmer, unfortunately, most people think about men. But women make up 20% of the agricultural workforce in Latin America, and it's closer to 50% for East Asia or Sub-Saharan Africa. But unfortunately, women have many historical disadvantages as farmers. You might not think about it, but they struggle to get title to their land because of inheritance laws that favor men. They struggle to get access to credit. They struggle to get access to education that could teach them modern farming methods and help them to improve their yields and their livelihoods. So as we looked at our supply chain, research showed us that if female farmers had the same access to resources as men, they could increase their yields and their farms by 20 to 30%. And this could potentially reduce the number of hungry people in the world by 150 million. 150 million. So we've partnered with CARE and USAID to develop a program to support equity for female farmers. We're investing $40 million across Egypt, India, Nigeria, some of the biggest economies in the developing world. And using this type of gender lens has proved incredibly valuable to us as a company. We realize we can have a positive effect on civil society through our support for women. For example, last week we announced a new regenerative agriculture program that will impact 7 million acres of farmland around the world. As a part of that, and importantly to those of us women leaders in the company, we committed to help improve the livelihoods of 250,000 people in farming communities with an emphasis on economic inclusion for women. And we do this because we believe that if women succeed economically, society as a whole will succeed. And I would add to that equation that if women succeed economically, then political and other power will flow. For example, bringing us back to Germany, where we sit today, it's great to see that the Greens have nominated Annalena Baerbock, a woman, as their candidate for chancellor. Now, I'm not taking partisan sides. I want to be very clear on that. But I really want to applaud the normalizing of women's power after the great example of Chancellor Angela Merkel. Now, unfortunately, the U.S. has been a bit of a laggard on this front. We haven't had a female president yet, but I do see hope and take pride in our new female vice president, Kamala Harris. But just in closing, I want to say it's not about programs and plans, although those are very important. We need a revolution in thinking, and that's sort of where I started. It's a sustainable revolution from within. And I want to leave you just two things to think about on that sustainable revolution while we wait for the Marshall Plan to come into being. One is to be more intentional. And when I was doing research about female founders and startups, it shows that more women start business from necessity or sort of fall into being an entrepreneur as opposed to setting out doing something big. And a Marshall Plan type intervention and a revolution of thinking could help women to own our own ambitions and just go for it. So in addition to applauding our winners tonight, I wanted to share a quick example of a woman named Lena Jungst, who I've not met, unfortunately, yet, but she's one of the founders of a startup called Arab. It's based out of Munich. And she had a great idea, and she turned down a lot of other job opportunities and things to pursue this dream and this idea. Arab sells refillable drinking bottles with special capsules, and these sort of trick your brain into thinking that you're drinking a delicious flavored beverage. But in fact, the capsules deliver scented bubbles with no calories or additives. So it's a really unique and kind of cool innovation with lots of opportunities for the future. And PepsiCo invested in Arab because we're convinced not only in her idea, but also in her leadership team and her the diversity that she's bringing to the business. And so this kind of inspirational story reminds me always that we need to be more intentional. We need to follow those dreams. And the final point would be that I think about a lot is, how can we become comfortable with discomfort? And in my role, I would say I'm usually often out of my comfort zone. I'm, one of one or two women in the room for a lot of the meetings, Zoom during the day, competing against men whose wives take care of their children's and their households for them. And while my husband is amazing, I still do my fair share of housework and childcare. And I often deal with unconscious bias. I don't think that these guys mean it, but it's there. And feelings of being left out of this kind of multi-male culture in the teams. And I thought of this particularly recently when Ursula von der Leyen started speaking out about her experiences in Turkey, where she was literally relegated to second-class seating. And she said, and I want to quote this directly, she said, "I felt hurt and I felt alone as a woman and as a European." And these to me were very powerful words from an incredibly powerful woman. She's saying she felt alone. And I give her a ton of credit, both for the way she handled the situation at the time. I felt a lot of grace and graciousness, but also for being brave enough to show her vulnerability afterwards. And while none of us should feel alone, we need to support each other. We need to look inside, and we need to find comfort in discomfort and comfort in knowing that we are blazing a trail for others to follow. So as I close, I would urge you, please, to do your part to support women in their economic aspirations. Supporting women to aid in our post-COVID recovery will help build a more equitable and more sustainable world. And what I'd like to see coming out of that is more female followers and more women taking leadership roles in big companies. To do that, let's push for the Marshall Plan for women. Only with this kind of focused and dedicated support will we see a real change in the women's situation economically and politically. So thank you again for listening to me tonight, for giving me the floor. And I want to say congratulations again to tonight's winners. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Krista. I think you said a lot of things that really resonated with me, and I'm sure with a lot of the other women listening, and maybe some of the men too. A couple really interesting points. I hope we can delve into that a bit more later when we get to the panel discussion part of our program. Thank you, Krista. So as Thorsten and Krista both already mentioned, female founders are unfortunately still a minority in the startup ecosystem on both sides of the Atlantic. And AmCham Germany has launched the Female Founders Award. It was back in 2019 in order to create a forum to honor successful female founders as positive role models. The goal is to promote and empower female founders in their visibility and networking, while at the same time inspiring and motivating other women across Germany and hopefully in the United States as well to become entrepreneurs. An independent jury selected this year's award recipients. The jury members were Nadine Bruto. She is founder of Comms Art and a member of the Berlin team at Digital Media Women. She's an entrepreneur, presenter, and consultant for corporate communication in times of digital and social change. Professor Dr. Thorsten Oltmanns is Regional Chair, Berlin-Brandenburg at AmCham Germany, and a Managing Partner at Gauli Advisors, and he's, of course, also my co-host this evening. Caroline Schäufele is CEO, founder, and managing editor of She Works, the business and career magazine and platform dedicated to female entrepreneurs and the unique issues and challenges they're faced with. Edith Stier-Thompson is managing director of News Aktuell, a subsidiary of the German press agency DPA. She's a founding member and on the extended board of the Association of Global Women in PR Deutschland, an association aimed at strengthening women in communication through mentoring and networking. Andreas Schweiger is Vice President and Managing Director for Germany at Texas Instruments Deutschland. As a sponsor of Texas Instruments' CSR branch in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, he's strongly engaged in the team's efforts in STEM education, supporting local organizations and initiatives such as Girls' Day and Female Tech Leaders. He's a member of the AmCham Germany Executive Committee. Maria Groß is Managing Director of German Tech, where she works to bring together diverse stakeholders to learn from each other and work toward a sustainable future. She started her career at Daimler, studied nonprofit management, and worked for a number of accelerators and incubators before joining German Tech. Dr. Guido Brinke is Head of Regulatory Policy and Director of Corporate Affairs at Microsoft Germany. Previously, he served as Head of Public Affairs for United Internet in Berlin and Brussels. From 2007 until 2011, Guido served as Head of the Media Policy Department at Bitkom. These 7 jury members chose 2 winners for this year's Female Founders Award, and because of the large number of exciting applications, the jury also decided to recognize 3 remarkable women and their projects as honorable mentions. Dr. Sophia Doll is co-founder and managing director of Era Diagnostics, a company offering cutting-edge MS-based protein analysis to understand human health and disease states. Era Diagnostics aims to bring about a revolution in medicine and improve quality of life by offering its platform as a service to biotech, pharma, and clinics. Katharina Meyer is founder and CEO of Kuchentratsch, which roughly translates to cake gossip. It's a social startup from Munich where senior citizens bake cakes, pursuing a meaningful activity and becoming part of a community. Katharina's goal is to show that social engagement and business are compatible. Kuchentratsch offers a working place and a social space for more than 50 elderly people. Dr. Amelie Weidemann is co-founder and chief science officer at Dear Employee, an AI-based platform which allows employers to execute scientific and digital mental health risk assessments and receive tailored health solutions for their teams. Dear Employee partners with leading health insurance and occupational health organizations and has more than 200 customers. Congratulations to all of these amazing women and their projects as our honorable mentions this year. I'm sure that we'll be seeing a lot more from these amazing women. And now we have a special message from some of our Female Founders Award winners from our first award ceremony at the end of 2019. First, we'll hear from Michelle Skodovsky, who is co-founder and CEO of Bot Friends. And then we'll briefly hear from Senia Scholl, who is co-founder and COO at Autonomy Teleretail.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Skodovsky. I'm COO and co-founder of Bot Friends, and I was lucky to be a winner in 2019 of the AmCham Female Founders Award. And though we had a really tough time, our company is still striving and growing to achieve our goals. And I wish the same and all the best to the winners of 2021. May a company be more successful as you can ever dream of.
Hello, my name is Senia. I'm co-founder of Autonomy Teleretail. Our company's focus is autopilot software for autonomous vehicles. We provide robots in different sizes and shapes, from large industrial vehicles to small retail robots. It was a great honor to receive Female Founders Award 2019 and to be supported by AmCham Germany. The whole world has changed since 2019. We needed to learn how to operate worldwide without traveling, and were able to complete successfully projects for Coca-Cola European partners, ThyssenKrupp Elevator, and LG Electronics. I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate all the winners of the Female Founders Award 2021. I wish you a lot of success on your voyage.
Now we're coming to the part of the evening that everyone has been waiting for, the presentation of this year's 2 winners of the Female Founders Awards. The first award goes to, drumroll please, Hana Helmke for her company Right Based on Science, a provider of climate metrics and software. Hana follows her strong conviction that a science-based approach is the best way to manage the emotionally charged field of corporate climate strategy. Based on the conviction that tackling global warming can only be accomplished through close collaboration between science, the economy, finance, and politics, her company uses the power of digitalization to tackle climate change. Founded by Hana and Dr. Sebastian Müller in 2016, Right Based on Science developed the X-degree compatibility model to calculate the impact a company, a portfolio, or any other economic entity has on global warming. The results are expressed as tangible degrees Celsius value. And the aim is to bring maximum transparency on climate-related risks and opportunities to the market. The calculation model has already been freely available to science, research, and universities since 2019. And starting at the end of this year, the model will be published as an open source project. Thorsten, I think you wanted to say something still.
I just wanted to say how impressed we were as the jury of a model that actually somehow transfers very complex data into an easy to grab information. And we're going to see, I'm not about to kind of try to explain how this works. We're going to see this in the video now. Sorry for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Also im Studium habe ich gelernt, dass 75% aller im Markt bereits eingepreisten fossile Brennstoffe nicht verbrannt werden dürfen in einer unter 2 Grad Welt. Und das ist ja eine gigantische Blase. Dem bin ich nachgegangen in meinen ersten Jobs, habe dann aber gemerkt, das ist mein Thema, damit möchte ich den ganzen Tag verbringen. Und dann gab es keinen anderen Ausweg, als meine eigene Firma zu gründen und an dem Thema zu arbeiten, an das ich glaube und wo ich davon überzeugt bin, dass es auch Wert generiert.
Niemand kann sich was darunter vorstellen, wenn ich sage, Unternehmen X stößt 30 Millionen Tonnen CO2 im Jahr aus. Das kann jemand, der sich damit nicht tagtäglich beschäftigt, kann das überhaupt nicht einschätzen. Aber eine Grad-Celsius-Zahl versteht jeder und das ist die große Stärke von unserem Modell.
Wir müssen verstehen, welches Unternehmen hängt von Ressourcen ab, die wir nicht mehr haben dürfen in der Zukunft und welches nicht. Und diese Transparenz zu schaffen, das hat uns getrieben. Das treibt uns auch immer noch.
The excitement. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely honored and delighted to receive this award. The timing couldn't be better, as the world is now so relieved that the US has re-entered the Paris Climate Agreement and thus fully supports its economy and finding its way into a Paris-aligned mode of operation. So I really hope that the progress on measuring and managing a company's impact on climate change that we have made here in Europe in the past few years is something that the US will be able to take advantage from. And also, I'm very sure that we can take advantage of the US culture when further progressing on these topics, as the US culture has such a strong focus on entrepreneurship and collaboration. And this is exactly what we're needing at this stage. So I would like to say thank you to the whole team of Right Based on Science, which has been strong and innovative enough to survive in this incredibly difficult market. And last but not least, I would like to thank Daniela Weber-Rey, who nominated me for this really nice prize and who has been quite a fascinating source of inspiration for me. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Hana Helmke, once again. It's a really fascinating thing that you are doing, and I look forward to talking to you more about it in a little bit. The second Female Founders Award this evening goes to Julia Piechotta and her company Spoontainable. She and her co-founder Amélie Vermeer and her team work to bring edible, vegan, plastic-free ice cream spoons and cutlery to customers across Europe and the world. Produced in Germany, Spoontainable products have replaced over 3 million plastic spoons to date. With more than 360 million plastic ice cream spoons a year ending up in the trash after just one use, and with a ban on single-use plastic starting in Europe this July, her company offers a real alternative created from natural byproducts from the cereal industry. And the best part is that after eating the ice cream, you can also eat the spoon. And I look forward to trying it at some point. I haven't gotten the opportunity yet. The two founders are not only committed to less plastic waste and more sustainability, but also to the development of a stronger startup ecosystem, and are also regional spokespersons of the German Startup Association in Heidelberg. Thorsten?
Just a few words on the jury. We were, I think, pretty impressed by the way that both of the kind of awardees tonight are actually working towards a decarbonized, sustainable kind of future. And on one hand, we have seen this idea of how to make things tangible and manageable for companies. And on the other hand, we were pretty impressed by the idea of perceivably small steps, pretty creative ideas actually can make a difference instantly. We know there's been a lot of research necessary in order to kind of bring together the recipe for the spoons, but it looks from the outside as an easy to do thing, right? Every one of us can actually do that the next time we eat ice cream, and then we eat the spoons, and we already do something for a sustainable future. And both in combination are great, but the idea itself and the two founders are actually fantastic. So congratulations already.
Hi, we are Amelie and Julia, the co-founders of Spoontainable, and we developed the first and edible ice cream spoon made out of oat and cocoa fibers. These are residuals from the food industry, which are saved by us and then upcycled to our sustainable plastic alternative.
With 2 different sizes, we were able to replace more than 3 million plastic ice cream spoons in the last 2 years. We're delivering to 12 different European countries and all over the world. And with these products and many more, like coffee stirrers and forks and knives, we want to show how easy a sustainable lifestyle can be.
We are so grateful to be one of the winners of this year's Female Founders Award. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for this great award. I have it right here, so hope you can see it all. Amelie and I are very, very happy that we won this award, because we think that it's our whole team who made this great achievement, and we just can do something about our plastic ban and about the environment together. And this is why we are very, very happy to show how easy and how great you can change something with like really, really small steps. And especially in the last few months, we had a really rough time due to the corona crisis. I think everyone knew this, especially the gastronomic sector was like closed, and we had some issues, but I think we managed it quite well. And hopefully, not only because we are founders, but we are really good in our business and want to be like real entrepreneurs, we achieve our great milestones, and hope we can do this in the next few months as well, and show the world our edible spoon. So thank you so much for this awesome award. We are very, very happy to achieve this.
Congratulations to both of our winners this year. I'm so impressed by your business models and by everything you're doing to help work against climate change. Now we're being joined by someone who is not only a female leader and role model, but also a company founder herself. Catherine Harrison is a multiple-time founder and currently CEO of Magpie, a technology platform for consumers to manage their luxury and collectibles as an asset class, as I mentioned before. She also founded Deep Trust Alliance, a nonprofit focused on building policy for combating malicious deepfakes. Catherine spent nearly a decade at IBM, where she served as Director of Global Product Management for the IBM blockchain platform. She's a term member on the Council of Foreign Relations and American Council on Germany Young Leader, a French-American Foundation Transatlantic Forum member, and a frequent conference speaker on topics relating to identity, cybersecurity, and deepfakes. Catherine?
Chelsea, thank you so much. It is an absolute honor to be here, and congratulations to the shortlist and all of our winners. I'm thrilled to be able to share the perspective of an American founder as we get underway. So let's see. The first question, and we've heard this addressed a few times, but is why are we here? As we sit in our homes, as we think about what the world will be when we emerge from the pandemic, why do we make the time for things like the Female Founders Award? Well, it's quite simple. We are here to celebrate superheroes. Yes, that is right. In our midst, wearing sweatpants and sitting at home, building new companies and creating new products, we have seen this evening 5 superheroes who are in our midst. Yes, being a founder is incredibly challenging, but each one of these women has displayed a unique set of superpowers. And it's not just the simplistic act of starting a company, which, as we know, is not so simple. But they have a few key superpowers that we all need to recognize. First, they have vision. These women have looked at their lives, their industries, their communities, and society as a whole, and seen that there was a need for change, for new products, new markets, and new data that can help us as humans to live in a better and more sustainable way. Second, they have expertise. These women have PhDs, they have experience running companies, building teams, and bringing together stakeholders from a whole range of different industries and spaces. In addition to vision and expertise, they also have tenacity, which allows them to continue on in the face of the challenges and the difficulties that they experience on a daily basis. Finally, what's most important is, why are we here and how do we help them? There are 5 key things that every founder needs. First, they need to find talent. They need to find talented people to help bring their vision to life. Second, they need capital. As we've already heard, funding of female entrepreneurs in the United States is less than 3% of the total venture funding in 2019. With the pandemic, we've seen venture capital retreat to its traditional methods of evaluating and choosing its investments. This has to change. Whether it's a Marshall Plan or simply introductions to key capital, it's critical that we make investments in female founders. Next, it's partners. Not only do female founders need employees and capital, but they need corporate partners, clients, and customers that help them to realize their vision and bring their product to the market. These partnerships are critical. I've seen it myself as a founder. Bringing those first corporate partners gives viability and growth and confidence to the business and to the world that we are envisioning. The fourth is our networks, helping women to build networks that can connect them to all of the elements we've already discussed, whether it be talented hires, capital, or partners, customers, and other corporations that can help them to realize their visions. Network cannot be understated. Organizations like AmCham have really helped to drive connections across founders, across corporations, not just within countries like the United States or Germany, but across them. And as we all know, we live in an ever globalizing, ever digital world. Driving that network and finding new connections is critical. And last but not least, we have to recognize these founders. So often when you talk about entrepreneurship, the people, the heroes that come to mind are Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs. Yet we need to think more quickly of women like Sarah Blakely, who founded Spanx, Oprah Winfrey, who's driven one of the largest media empires, and Vera Wang. We need to know that founders can be female. We need to see what it looks like to raise capital, to hire teams, and to manage businesses as they scale from startups to unicorns valued over $1 billion. Awards like the Female Founders Award are critical to help us build our understanding and our recognition of the efforts, the vision, the expertise, and the tenacity that founders in this space must achieve in order to build their companies and build their markets and build their goals. So I challenge all of you who have joined us today. What will you do to help celebrate these superheroes and inspire the next generation, make introductions and drive their businesses to new levels of growth? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. And now I'm really excited about this portion of the program because I get to talk to all of you. And even cooler is that some of the people who are watching have also contributed some questions. So I have some of my own, and we have some of the people who are watching. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say, all of you. And so we're joined by most of the women who we've heard from this evening. And I want to get right into it because it's something that we talked about previously when we met before for a test run of this. Catherine, how strange is it for you to be referred to as a female founder rather than just a founder?
Well, you certainly know that none of my male counterparts are called a boy founder, gentleman boss, a man boss. None of those terms are ever used because that's the default. And I want to live in a world where nobody cares that I'm a woman. But unfortunately, we're not there yet. And so therefore, we need to take as many steps as possible to get to that world.
How do our female founders winners from this evening? What do you think about that? Are you often referred to as a woman founder, or do people see past that and just say she's a founder? She has a great company.
Yes, so I can start. So yes, definitely. So Amelie and I are always being seen as female founders, especially because we are like two female founders. On the one hand, we are like taking advantage of it. Of course, I mean, one can see us, especially in this male sector of startups. But on the other hand, we do not want to be successful because of being female, right? And this is like a really important point. And so for that, I totally agree that we need to live in a world where it doesn't matter which gender we have to be a founder or an entrepreneur or to be successful. Yes, so that would be my opinion.
Hana, maybe a different question to you, unless you want to respond to my first question. Okay. Over the past 7 years, the number of women founders has increased by only about 3% in Germany. What, in your experience, have been the biggest hurdles for you as a woman founding your own company? I think you're on mute.
Sorry, having this problem tonight. I think so. The most serious hurdles is definitely the access to capital, and it's definitely the access to talent that make your business grow enough and develop enough to make sure that others recognize that what you do is good, that it has a place, that there is a reason for it. So to get to that point, I think that is the most important hurdle, and it needs a lot of friends. It needs a lot of it needs a lot of good partnerships. It needs people who are just believing in you and telling you, just move on, just go on. So I think this was the biggest hurdle for me, founding it and having the idea and just having the willpower. That's the one thing. But then once you're actually on the road, to make sure you go to the next milestone where you can show something and tell people, hey, this is serious.
Mm-hmm. And which is totally understandable given the fact that 5 out of 6 founders in Germany, at least, are men. We don't really have that many role models to look up to. And I think that's something that both of our speakers mentioned earlier. The German Startup Association and Bitkom just recently presented a joint diversity initiative, and it cites numerous barriers for female founders that are also linked to structural disadvantages for women in the startup scene. Maybe, I'm not sure who to direct this question to, but what needs to change, just in concrete terms, so that women don't have such huge hurdles to overcome to found their own businesses?
Hana, do you want to start, or shall I? Okay,
I guess it's kind of a personal question, maybe directed toward all of you, because you've all been in this situation before. Maybe Hana, since you were talking about it before, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah. So maybe we even have to go back to school with the question, okay, what needs to start? Because at school you are searching for your own talent. At school you are getting to know yourself. And if your teachers and if the school is structured in a way that they pave the way for you to understand, okay, I'm actually somebody who has a vision, and I have self-efficacy. So if I roll up my sleeves, I can achieve something. This is so important for a female founder to believe in herself and say, okay, I'm gonna focus on this now. I'm gonna get going. But this is something that develops and materializes when you are in your teenage years. And if you have good teachers that show you, okay, if you want to do this, then go on and see what happens, and do that kind of experience. Maybe this is what needs to change. So I always like skipped my lessons, and I did deals with my teachers about grades and that I would pass, because I did not allow them to tell me with what to spend my time. I told them, this is not necessary for me. This is not relevant for me. This is not important for me. I think I have to use my time in a different way. So I had my own plan, and I was able to follow it. And maybe that was a big milestone for me personally to set me up for what I'm doing today.
To our two American women joining us this evening, who also have a European perspective on things, do you think that that is something that's done better in Germany or in the United States? Are we giving girls that are going to school the freedom they need to understand that they can do something like this?
I think I'll start, and then Catherine, I'll pass over to you. I think that I don't know if it's about the schools or if it's about how we raise our children. And as I have a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old, a boy and a girl, and so I can see the gender differences. And I try to be, and my husband and I try to be very intentional with them about, not bringing biases in, not treating them differently. But I think the culture surrounding them, no matter how hard you try to protect them from it, puts women in relationship to other people, and men more in relationship to action or to money or to achievements. So I think you have to, maybe if you start as a parent, you have to be incredibly diligent and intentional in saying, no, everyone is equal. All opportunities are equal, and you can have a career, and you're going to have a career, and just take the bias out of it. So I think it starts with the parents, and I think the schools are often just a reflection of the culture. So it's a bit of an uphill battle, but I think that this generation has a lot of advantages over, say, when I was raised, for example. But I pass to you, Catherine.
Yeah, I love Hannah's comments, because I have spent the last several years going from corporate executive to entrepreneur. And I have had, in certain respects, to completely remake my evaluation of success, my way of doing business, my way of asking for feedback. And I think that it's really critical that we provide models and that we provide tools that allow women to challenge the status quo, that allow them to really drive forward their own ideas. And I think the last thing that's really critical to realize is to watch in conversations with women what types of questions are asked of them and how are they treated. My CTO and I run a great experiment with investors. I take about half of the first meetings and he takes the other half. The questions that I get are all about how do you manage the downside risk? Are you sure about these numbers? Do you have the right talent to execute? It's all about risk mitigation and do you think you can execute? When he takes the meetings, the questions are all about how big is the vision, how fast can you do it, and how much money will it take? And so just recognizing the difference in our reactions and our questions, depending on who is doing the presenting, is critical. And it's not until we actually ran that experiment that my CTO even believed that I was getting different questions. So I challenge everyone to take a step back and think about how do they react to and interact with female founders and female professionals, regardless of the industry or space.
In those situations where it was pretty clear that you were getting completely different questions based on your genders, did you ever ask the VC decision makers about that? Did you ever make them aware of it in that situation?
It's a great question. And I have to say, it's a really interesting power dynamic when you're raising capital. So while I have not directly confronted, why are you asking those questions? I have changed my pitch to focus very much on the vision and the opportunity. And I use a reframing where I often will say, I'm sorry, you're asking the wrong question. Let me tell you what the right question is to point them in that direction. And look, risk mitigation questions are real and are very understandable questions from investors. So it's not that I don't want to answer them. It's just what percentage we see. So I think it's something that people across industries just really need to be aware of.
When you're sitting down with potential venture capital, people who give venture capital, is it always completely men?
It is getting better. I'd love to hear in the German experience. I feel like I have a very specific in the US, but I'd love to hear what it's like in Germany.
Hana or Julia, did either of you have experience with that?
So maybe I can start from our side. We are a bit reluctant to accepting venture capital funding because that funding is just not made for the kind of business model that we need in order to really fulfill the purpose we have set ourselves. It's much more long term. It's just very focused on an own strategy and an own understanding of the market and what needs to be done. And we have decided that venture capital is not the right capital to support that kind of business model. So this is why we have refused those conversations so far. And our largest investor, so we have investors, it's just strategic investors and partners, is a lady. So she is an owner of a large company. And she is like supporting the whole vision and the whole purpose of Right Based on Science, and this is why she's funding us. And another investor, so our reference person here is also a lady, and she understands exactly what the big picture is that we're working on. So this is why which is why I have an experience of both men and women people acting as our investors, and I appreciate that mixture a lot, and I see differences. Yeah.
It's also proven that women receive significantly less when they go looking for early stage capital. but businesses founded by women ultimately deliver higher revenue per dollar invested. It is 78 cents per dollar invested compared to 31 cents among men. Julia, why do you think that is?
Oh, that is a great question. I think, we as female managers maybe are way better than maybe calculating. I hope this is one reason for this. Looking at maybe speaking to mentors or coaches, we always get the words that we are thinking or planning to risk averse, and we should be more active and thinking more optimistic. But looking at more optimistic numbers means also that you might recalculate, right? And you're thinking of a totally huge amount of revenue, and we always think, okay, let's be more realistic. And maybe this is the reason why we are making better revenues. I hope so. And of course, also the leadership. What I experienced in the last few months. So we are right now increasing our team members, and this is a quite great and huge experience for us, because becoming from founders to leaders is a really big step. And here we are getting the feeling of being a boss, and boss, it sounds like really hard word, but of leaders, right? And we are always talking to our employees, and this is like a really good experience to get a better feeling of how they feel. And I think compared to male founders or leaders, female founders can be more have more this empathy feeling, right? So we can more feel how our employees are thinking, what they are thinking, what they need, and give them maybe a better family feeling. I hope so. This might be one reason. So this is what I'm thinking. But I really have not the right answer for this. This is just what I experienced in the past few months.
I think there's no right or wrong answer to that question. Krista, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Do you think that women in business ask for too little? I'm thinking of what you just said, where we women are maybe more empathetic, but we're also more careful. We don't lean in. I'm thinking of Sheryl Sanders' book. We think I'm an imposter syndrome, where we always are second guessing ourselves and being too modest, as compared to our male counterparts who just do it. Do we ask for too little in business?
Yeah, look, I think the research has been very clear, and you've quoted some of it, that there is such a prevalence, of a lack of confidence, of this sort of feeling that I'm an imposter, I don't really deserve this. I constantly mentoring younger women, either on my teams or in other functions, who are so talented, and they just don't grasp their own power. They just have such a hard time living it. So I would absolutely say that is still the case. But I think the cause for optimism is really around, I think what Julia was just talking about is, empathetic leadership. And I would say in corporate America right now, we're talking a lot about empathetic leadership after we've gone through this pandemic, and people are exhausted and they're sick and tired of, working from their houses and having their children interrupt them, and et cetera. And I think women are uniquely suited to bring a more empathetic leadership. So I think we have an opportunity to take what maybe in the past might have been a weakness and really make it into a strength, and to really say, let's show our male colleagues, this is how you can lead from empathy. This is how you can lead with a heart. This is how you can get results and be nice. You don't have to be the mean boss. You can be the fair, rational, strong, opinionated, but yet empathetic boss. So I think that this situation now gives us a real opportunity for a leadership style. I don't want to say female leadership, because to the point earlier, like nobody wants to be the female boss or the called out for our gender, but I think a new, more, let's say, human-centric vision of leadership. I think there's a real opportunity right now.
How mixed are your teams, Julia and Hana? How many, is it half and half women, half men, or how mixed are you?
Yeah, so, sorry, Hana, I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, so at Right Based on Science, it's really half-half. So it's 50-50. And so we also have women in our tech teams and in our scientific teams. And that's a very valuable diversity. Yeah, and we try to maintain it at least 50-50. So a few male colleagues are nervous already because they want to have more males in the team. So I'm receiving those kinds of feedback already. But it's not, it's unintentional. So it's just the way it is. I don't know if we attract this kind of diversity. It's just the way it happens.
Maybe they're inspired by you.
Maybe that would be great.
And Julia, how is it in your team?
Yeah, unfortunately, not that diverse. We are way more female employees than male, but we would love to be more diverse. But right now we are just receiving like female applications, so we have no other choice, right, to invite them to us. No, but yeah, in the future, of course, when we are increasing our team. So right now we are just 8 people, and so it's I think it's just fine. But increasing the amount of team members, it's really necessary to have a diverse team, and we are really enjoying our male colleagues who are giving the team a bit more spirit, right? And it's really cool to have male and female colleagues. I think this is really important.
There are a couple questions from people watching, and I don't want to miss those. One of the people watching has asked how to you, Julia, how can we encourage our local ice cream shop to use your spoons? Do they cost the same as plastic ones?
So unfortunately, they are a bit more expensive than plastic spoons, but plastic spoons will be forbidden in a few months in European Union, especially. And one have to say that, I mean, our spoon is edible, and I'm not sure if someone wants to eat food or a spoon which costs less than 1 cent. So this might be maybe not that great idea. And of course, it's like food and plastic is not that comparable. But still, our spoon costs between 4 and 7 cents. So it's a bit more expensive, but still, you can still manage it, I think.
What does it taste like?
So we have 2 different sizes. On the one hand, we have the cocoa fiber. So this tastes like dark chocolate. And then we have the Spoonie Classic, which is made out of oat husk. So this is, tastes like a classical oat cookie. So these 2, sizes.
Well, I haven't come across them yet, but I'm looking forward to it when I do. The ice cream season is upon us.
Definitely, yes, you should.
We should connect up because, PepsiCo has one of the largest oat businesses in the world through Quaker Oats, which Americans will know well. So maybe we can find a kind of symbiotic relationship of husks and spoons. I love it. So let's connect up.
That would be great.
Wonderful. And Hana, there's also a question for you. How has Right Based on Science and your team how have you been leading in a collaborative way, which I guess kind of goes together with what we just had here, collaboration?
Well, here at Right Based on Science, it's all about collaboration, because in order to create a model that can calculate a company's impact on climate change, you have to be an expert in different fields. So you have to have expertise in climate science, you have to have expertise in software development, like physicists, mathematicians, business, finance, communication design. So you have a very diverse team. So if you don't manage to collaborate in that company, you're lost, you're gone. So this is why I'm trying as a leader of this company to give as much responsibility as I can to the team leads, so that they really take the ownership, and we lead this company actually as a team of people with very different backgrounds, but all of them having like very deep expertise in their field. So this is why this kind of business model and this kind of product really trains you to collaborate. And this also then, so you also then benefit from this, because you also then collaborate in a different way than with your clients and with your customers, because that's just the way you work. And I think this is also a big step towards then success.
And that actually goes together with another question that we've gotten from someone who is watching. And I'd like to maybe ask this question of Catherine. What I guess it goes for everyone too, but Catherine, we haven't heard from you in a minute. So what was the one key ingredient that you feel was essential to your success as an entrepreneur so far?
I think it's that tenacity piece. Every single day brings a new challenge, whether it's the internet not working, whether it's a customer, whether it's an employee, whether it's a market condition like a global pandemic. And realizing that, number one, I don't have to have all the answers. I need to surround myself with really smart people and really experienced people to help me get to the right answers. And that I just have to keep going and pushing forward and making the best decisions with the information that I have. And that if today isn't great, tomorrow will be better. And even if tomorrow is amazing, there are new adventures, horizons, and successes, as well as failures that are going to be in the life of an entrepreneur. So I think that tenacity to keep going, no matter what happens or what you're faced with, is critical.
Krista, what advice would you give to young women who are moving forward in their careers and pushing toward leadership positions?
Gosh, that's a big question. Lots of advice. I guess sort of two different things. One is to, if you can, take an operating role. And I say this again as somebody who's worked most of my career in big multinational companies. If you get into staff functions, that's legal, that's HR, that's sometimes finance, but what I do in communications and government affairs, you're not going to be a CEO. You need to be in the commercial business. And I think there's so few women who do that. So if you really want to be a CEO and you're going to be in a big company, go into an operating role. It's probably the only regret that I have in my career is that when I finished my MBA, I was offered the choice and it just seemed so scary to me. I just thought, I don't know if I could do the numbers of it. I don't know if I could, it's just too male dominated. It was very intimidating. And so I chose communications instead. So I guess if I were to focus on one thing, it would be don't be intimidated by it. Give it a try. It's okay if you fail, but probably you're going to succeed. And that's the path to the top.
I think that's a good note to end on. I think there's nothing better that we can end on. So thank you to all of you four ladies for this great conversation. It was a pleasure talking to all of you.
It's really fun. Thank you. Thanks for moderating.
And
thank you so much.
All right. And now, hi, we have Simone Amer on the screen. She is Executive Vice President of AmCham Germany. Simone looks back on a 25-year career at Lufthansa, so also a power woman, where she also became the first female CFO at a German blue chip company. She was also a member of the board of managing directors and head of finances at the family-owned company Boehringer Ingelheim. Today, in addition to being Executive Vice President of AmCham Germany, she also serves on the supervisory boards of both BMW and Deutsche Post, and as a non-executive board member at Johnson Controls International. Welcome, Simone. I think you are on mute.
Yeah. The typical problem. Thank you, Chelsea. It was a great discussion, and I joined it so much. And I have to agree to Krista. One of the mistakes I did, I never had an operating job, and therefore I wasn't a CEO. But it was a great evening, and I'm so proud. As an executive vice president that AmCham Germany did initiate this evening, and this special thank to Thorsten Altmann, who initiated that in 2019, foreseeing that we need female forces. And we need that on both sides of the Atlantic. We need innovation and entrepreneurship. We need all gender, because we are facing huge issues, huge challenges with the climate change, with the pandemic, with the changes in technology. So we need all new ideas, all talents, and everybody. So we have to foster that entrepreneurial spirit, and we need to do that together with politicians from both sides of the Atlantic to set the scenes for funding, as we heard, for education. We heard start already early in school, for regulations and structure to make founding easier. And especially in Germany, we see here some borders and barriers who are not necessary. But we need also this special focus on females, because we need this female perspective. And I think we learned a lot today what this female perspective can add to what we have in the business landscape at the moment. I like the idea of the Marshall Plan Krista introduced, and I think we should follow that up. Females have a different perspective, and we as AmCham Germany see to sponsor also that. And we also want to provide the transatlantic network. I think we have a good example with BioNTech and Pfizer. And we could continue that with Spoontainable and PepsiCo. So use a startup, join it with big forces, and of course we have a transatlantic wonderful business case. This award tonight, this Female Founders Award, shed the light to the female founders. As Marianne said at the very beginning, female founders are more sustainable. We also heard that in the discussion, and more successful. But it is true that it's also a lot more difficult for female founders to get money. And we also heard from Catherine that, strange enough, because of unconscious bias, females get a lot of negative questions, and the male founders get a lot of positive visionary questions. So we have to overcome this unconscious bias, and there is a huge potential when we use also this female power of female founders. We cannot afford as a society, as a global society, to leave that out. On this note, I would like, of course, thank once again everyone who applied, every single female founder who applied. This is so important. You contributed, and all ideas and projects are valuable. Of course, there are some winners, but all ideas are valuable and can contribute. And I want to congratulate all the shortlist nominees, and especially, of course, our winners, Julia and Hana. I wish you all success in your future business endeavors, and I'm pretty sure we will see more of you. Thank you for giving us this insight and your spirit, your personal experience, your stamina. And I think this is absolutely necessary to keep on. You are passionate about your idea, and I see that when you talk about it, and it's so great to listen to you. And I think this is why people are following you, and you get also great teams. So keep on with that passion and that stamina, and you will be successful. I would also like to thank all the jury members who had a difficult task, I can say, to make that evaluation and to make that decision, because there are so many great ideas, and it's very difficult to really decide at the very end for the winners. And once again, of course, I would like to thank our sponsors and the team of AmCham, who both of them made it possible that this evening happened. And if, of course, it is a pity that it cannot meet together, and we all look forward to times when we can do so, it is different, but still, it was a very, very special evening. And having you all as a participants as representative of the transatlantic community gathered here gives me really optimism that we can go forward with our plans and with huge potential and ideas. And we feel more than honored as AmCham that you spent this evening with us. I'm sure you enjoyed the presentation, and I'm sure you have seen the potential. I hope you're going out with this spirit of optimism, of entrepreneurship, of yes, we have to start something. Please take that spirit with you tonight and support female women in business leadership as founders. Create female superheroes, as Catherine asked us to do. I'm pretty sure we will need them for the future. So thank you for joining us tonight. Thank all of the participants, congratulate the winners, and have a glass of wine or sparkling wine to celebrate that evening now. Thanks a lot.
Thanks also from me. It was a great pleasure. And as you're coming back to Catherine and what she said earlier, as your boy host, or I would rather like the expression gentleman host. I do need to avoid the classical male trap of just repeating everything that has been said already, but in different words. So I'm tempted to just say two things. First off, as Chelsea mentioned earlier, we had a long discussion about, is it necessary to have a female founders award, or aren't all successful founders in the end just founders? My takeaway also from this discussion, but also from the studies that some of you mentioned on how bad actually female founders are faring when it comes to VC. To me, that's a sign, right? I mean, you should expect the VC guys actually to be razor sharp and totally unemotional, kind of just looking for the best possible way to invest their money. But if you see that even those companies who have on average 10%, I think, females in the kind of decision boards, they still favor male ideas over female ideas. And to me, that's a signal, a sign that this is not just something that the great women that we actually awarded and experienced tonight can do by themselves. There's more necessary, and I think that organizations like AmCham should do something, should also put some pressure on politics. And I still find it a little bit scandalous that the Germans take that long to have a quota or whatever in order to get females on the boards of companies. So that's the general part. The specific part, coming back to what you all mentioned about what's necessary for female founders, and probably as well for male founders, providing networks, supporting you, kind of trying to set up already some kind of joint ventures or ideas how to cooperate, like we heard from Pepsi. And on the spoon question, if I may say so, I think that is also what we want to do with this award. We want to connect you. We want to make sure that you are able to get access to some of the great companies that are at AmCham. And if there's anything we can help you with, and that goes for the two winners as well as for the shortlisted companies, we would very much like to do that. Having said that, I would like to thank Chelsea because I like her style of being crisp and very, very entertaining at the same time. Thank you very much for moderating the evening.
I'd
like to thank all of you for this very, very fascinating exchange of ideas and experiences. And also from my side, a great thank you to the team of AmCham, especially again, Barbara Biemann-Benke, who put enormous effort behind this. And of course, to all the sponsors. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again next year. Hope even more great founders, female founders, will actually be on our list. And thank you very much and enjoy the evening. Thank you.